How to tell the new BMW X5 from the old one? Well, this huge kidney grille is a sure telltale sign.
This is the fourth generation of BMW's no longer largest SUV. The Bavarians are launching the X7, which will compete with Mercedes-Benz GLS. But let's get back to the X5, which has the internal codename G05, and it replaces the F15. G05 is slightly larger from the F15, but if it wasn't for the football pitch-sized grille, it would be hard to distinguish between the two generations from the outside.
Before I tell you what the big differences are, a few minor details which you can use to annoy F15 owners.
For example, split tailgate. In the F15, only the top part opened automatically, and you had to operate the lower part manually. And now both parts are automatic. You can set how high the tailgate is going to open, and you can configure whether you want both parts opening when you press a button or only the top part. There are many more things you can configure in this car. Boot volume remains unchanged at 650 liters and almost 3 times as much with the seats in the second row folded. This is an early production model, so not all the options are available. For example, cars in production as of late 2018 can have the optional third row of seats. There will also be an optional power sliding of the second row of seats. Regardless of the third row, there is going to be an optional electric boot cover, so smaller people won't have problems reaching deep inside the boot.
With the optional air suspension, you can drop the rear end for easier loading of heavy items. We will be using the air suspension later in this review. Is it dropping? Yes, it is.
There are also shopping bag hooks and a 12-volt socket and handles to release backrests in the second row. Under the boot floor there is some extra storage because BMW doesn't think you'll change your own tire. Anyway, this car is on run flats. For someone who's 175 centimeters tall like me, getting into the new BMW X5 requires standing on my tippy toes, and doors don't cover the sills, so watch out for your lower garments.
For almost 3 meters long wheelbase, there isn't as much legroom as one would expect. I mean, this seat is now set to my driving position, but a slightly taller driver would make things a bit more tight back here. On the plus side, there is almost flat floor, and the middle seat is big enough for an adult. So cars the size of the X5 are true 5-seaters, not 4 plus someone you don't really like. The side seats are heated. There is also 4-zone climate control. There is a place for water bottles in the door bins, and there are now USB-C ports in the back. And these holes here are to mount accessories like, I don't know, coat hangers, hooks, or maybe some sort of tablet mounts.
It's getting really interesting in the front because the X5 is one of the 3 new BMW models launched at the 2018 Paris Motor Show to feature the so-called live cockpit. This basically means new virtual instrument cluster and a new infotainment system. BMW calls it a radical modernization, and radical it is.
I spent good 45 minutes on the phone with the BMW PR specialist who patiently guided me through the new system.
I wasn't sure where certain things are displayed. Live Cockpit displays certain readouts in different places depending on the mode you're in. So in Comfort mode, your average fuel consumption is displayed with the average speed, but in Eco Pro it jumps to the Eco Pro indicator, where the rev counter is displayed in other modes. Your total mileage is displayed with the average speed or at the bottom of the screen when you turn the car on or off. Once you know where to look, you'll be fine.
A lot has changed on the central display as well. So there is a home screen and there are some tiles here on the side. So you can, yes, and there are those gestures which I have no idea what they do. Never mind. So there are tiles on the side and you can go into additional options from here, or you can use touch display to just go back and forth. There are different apps assigned to these screens which are, let's say, behind the home screen. and you can operate it by touch, obviously, or you can use the iDrive controller, which, like the gear knob, the start button and the volume knob, are finished in some sort of crystal glass, which feels a bit plasticky at first. Another change are the climate controls. Now there's a new display, new buttons, they are in a slightly different place. At first I thought this dial is for the temperature, but it's obviously to close the air vent. It would make sense if this were a dial, but never mind. And to operate heated seats, you now press a button and then you actually set your heating and ventilation from here on the screen, and then you can use the button again to switch it off or something. So it's if it's not your first BMW, it will take some time getting used to.
As of the end of 2018, X5 will also have NFC smartphone-based access and ignition. And from the beginning, there is an option which Renault fans will love and I detest. The car can open as you approach or close as you leave. On the plus side, you can choose one of the two or disable it completely. I set the car to lock as I leave, but not to open when I approach. New BMW X5 is made in Spartanburg, South Carolina, where I tested the new BMW X4. Spartanburg is where most BMW SUVs are made these days. The current generation X5 is available as an xDrive 30D, 40D, 50D, 40i and 50i. The latter is the only V8 in the range, and it will not be available in Europe, at least for now.
Today I'm driving the entry-level xDrive 30D. It's a 3-liter straight-six diesel with 265 horsepower, 620 Nm of torque, and it does 0 to 100 km per hour in 6.5 seconds. It can tow up to 2.7 tons, and in my test it used on average around 9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is about 31 mpg Imperial and 26 mpg US. I hope I got that right. Google it for me, won't you? Anyway, I could have taken the 50D, but I went for the 30D because this test car is equipped with the xOffroad package. Apparently, there are some BMW customers willing to go into more difficult terrain than just driving up a tall curb. So I asked BMW, are you positively sure that you want me to take this car off-road? And they said, yes, yeah, take it off-road, you know, we stand by our product. So I had no choice. I did.
The xOffroad package is hard to spot from the outside. It includes pneumatic suspension, which gives you extra 4 cm over the standard 21.5 cm ground clearance. There is also an electronic diff lock, some undercarriage protection, off-road driving programs, and a dedicated off-road display. As you can see here, electronic goblins deal with some basic obstacles like climbing with just 2 wheels having traction. However, in my top-secret off-road test facility, also known as where I get the car stuck, there is not much in terms of wheel articulation or rock crawling, so I'll resort to my standardized can it go up a sandy hill test. The tricky bit is a left turn just before the summit. As points of reference, we'll use the Kia Sorento, which didn't make it up there, and Range Rover Velar, in which I didn't notice I was driving off-road. I drove both of these cars in the summer, so sand was dry. Now it's wet and ruts are getting deeper with every attempt. And I had to make several attempts. There was no place for sophisticated electronic trickery, just momentum. And now let's get back on tarmac, where the X5 is
supremely comfortable. It's very well sound insulated, although in my opinion the suspension is tad too soft. Now this car is equipped with the xOffroad package, and as a result it cannot have the active anti-roll bar which you will get on the more sporty models. So I think that would help it corner flatter through the corners. As far as driving is concerned, this test car is also equipped with the integrated active steering, and this means it changes the steering ratio depending on the speed to make the corners tighter without me having to turn the wheel too much, and it also turns the rear wheels in the opposite direction to the front wheels when I'm driving slow in a parking lot, or in the same directions when I'm driving at higher speeds, which is supposed to make the car more agile. So basically it's supposed to be either easier to maneuver or more agile depending on the speed you're doing. And these systems are present in other cars, not necessarily premium, because it's becoming increasingly popular. But this is the first time I can feel that the system is working like in the middle of the maneuver, as if I hit the magical speed below which it's supposed to do one thing and above which it's supposed to do another thing. So it, like, even now I can feel the whole car is shaking like this. It's weird. It shouldn't happen like this, because I have driven cars with systems like this which were as big, as fast, as powerful, or more powerful than this car, and none of them did this. In my case, it's like the turning radius becomes tighter in the middle of the corner. It's weird. It doesn't happen always. It happens when I'm driving a bit more aggressively, but it happens. Now, BMW was unable to answer my questions about this at this time, because they said, okay, we have to drive this car and see what's happening and tell you if it's normal or not. So I will get back to you with this during a review of another X5, maybe a more sporty one, which has the which will also have the anti-roll bar stabilization thing. We'll see which way it goes.
BMW X5 has a whole bunch of safety systems and driver aids. The car detects pedestrians and cyclists, it helps you take evasive maneuvers, it has adaptive cruise control, which works in stop-and-go traffic, there is a camera monitoring the driver's face looking for signs of fatigue or distraction. All this works, although this was the first time any car suggested I take a break after just a few hours of driving. Perhaps it was because I was testing all the systems and the car assumed I was tired.
What I really like is the traffic assistant, and this is something I wanted to mention later. Basically, as the car turns, or if you change lanes, it stops seeing ahead and it accelerates a bit more than it should. However, I like how it works in general. So basically I can just drive in traffic without touching the pedals. The car will brake for me, it'll accelerate for me, and it's just one button here to adjust the cruise control to the current speed limit. So it'll suggest so that the speed limit is 50 here, so I press it here, press the button, and it goes down to 50. What it will also do when I'm stopped at the lights, for example, it will not start until I actually look in front. So if I'm texting or doing something like that, which I shouldn't be doing, obviously, it won't start. It'll just give an audible warning. So right now I'm not looking at the road, as you can probably see. I'm being very stupid, so don't try this at home. And damn it, it didn't stop, so it moved. Okay, let's go to the next lights. Hopefully we'll stop and do something stupid again like this. God, did I just say we'll hopefully do something stupid again like this? Oh my God. Sorry guys, do not do this at home. I'm a professional idiot. Where's traffic when you need it? Come on, stop, 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 please stop. Oh, and it won't. Okay, now it tells me to take over. Unfortunately, it won't stop for pedestrians, so I have to stop for pedestrians myself. Okay, fine, so I won't show you how it works because there is no traffic when I need it. I'm sorry.
Otherwise, just remember you're driving a 2+ ton SUV and you'll be fine. People tend to get out of your way when they see a big and expensive car. A 360-degree camera with side view helps you avoid obstacles when parking. Theoretically, X5 should do automatic parallel parking, and it works great in minis, but here, after numerous attempts, I gave up. Prices of the new BMW X5 start at €71,000. This test car is in the upper 90s. At this price range, you can buy a Range Rover Velar with similar performance. Interestingly, Range Rover Sport, even with a V8 diesel, is so heavy it won't be as fast. Audi Q7 is slightly larger and faster, Volvo XC90 doesn't have a powerful enough diesel to compare, and we're yet to see the new Mercedes-Benz GLE.
An unexpected competitor is also Volkswagen Touareg. It offers similar performance and equipment levels, especially as far as driver aids are concerned, and it is not much cheaper than the X5. Would you be willing to pay $90,000 for a Touareg when a few grand more can buy you an X5? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't. Join me for new reviews every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.